So without further ado, I would like to introduce Anthony McDonald.
How you doing? It's my second day without a cane. It feels a little odd. I think I traded it in for a sore throat. Hopefully you didn't just come here to hear me speak. Lisa's here to talk about some very, very important issues also for the PC party. And for those of you who thought the Blue Rodeo was playing tonight, I may have lied a little bit. Jim Cuddy won't be here, and none of his band will either. And also, Chris Hadfield will not be signing autographs. He's still in space. He's not here tonight. Jody said that he would sign some, but I don't think he needs a pen. Seriously though, you people are here tonight because you're good people. You understand what I'm attempting to do here, how daunting the task is at hand, and how much help and support I will need from the people that I call family and industry that I call home. Thank you for being here tonight. It is an encouraging sight to see people from this industry come to an event like this. It is because of you and the people that aren't here tonight why I'm doing this. You know, we as Ontarians, we deserve better. It's true. You know, we deserve better representation, and we absolutely deserve a government that has some sort of accountability. This province has been going down the wrong direction under a Liberal regime for far too long, and we need to turn that around. Not just us, but all of us, the province of Ontario. I'm speaking about the hard-working people of Ontario that blindly did and still do go to work every day to support and grow their families, fully expecting that the government that is running our province, whether we voted for them or not, is looking out for our best interests. It's very clear that they do not want to change the direction this province is heading. So it's up to us to change their employment status, as they've done for so many Ontarians in the last 9 years, from employed to unemployed. Yes. The last year has opened all of our eyes. We all now see what a governing body can do to an industry or a sector it favors or does not. I have watched the lives and dreams of my friends and my family crushed and scattered at the hands of a reckless and careless, disingenuous government. We all feel uncertain about our futures. We're used to taking risks. We're in a risky business. We all try not to count on what's happening today because there's always next week. But is there? Is there a next week for us in our industry? This nightmare of uncertainty is spread across our entire province in one form or another. You know, where did it come from? You know, who did this to Ontario? Why, it was our own government. People who just a year before that stood before you and pledged a better Ontario for one and all, never once mentioned an end to the slots at racetracks program, never once mentioned casinos invading our province, and never once mentioned the doom and the gloom of the next budget. When I decided to get involved politically, it was because I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought it was just our industry. But as we look around our province and we find an odd connection, not just with horse people, but with all people. People that race horses, people that don't race horses, people that may not have even brushed a horse before or seen a horse race. But these people are just like us. They get up every day, they kiss their kids, and they go to work. That is if they have a job. We are all scared that we are going to join the long line of the 600,000 people that woke up today without a job. If you're young, you may be unemployed, you may be underemployed. Can you imagine what it's like to go to university for 4 years, work hard, take your exams, stress out, go to school. You finally graduate, only to be rewarded with a part-time job at Subway. Or maybe you've worked your entire life. You have a family. You've worked in an industry or a sector you love. Suddenly the plant closes. Now what? You have a mortgage to pay. You have bills to pay. Jobs are tough to come by, and good jobs are scarce in this province. And with soaring energy costs, who can afford to pay the mortgage, let alone leave the lights on? You know, I was out canvassing the other day. I mean, you know, you go door to door and you knock on doors, and it's tough. You know, you gotta get used to it. And I'm no stranger to talking, so I picked up pretty quick. You know, you want to get to know who our conservative friends are and who aren't. A lady comes to the door. She introduced herself, and we talked for a few minutes. She said, "Mr. McDonald, why is it our government is hell-bent on spending all of our tax dollars on green energy, and they're not spending enough on affordable energy? Do you have any idea what it costs me to run my household, my husband and I?" I said, "Ma'am, you're referring to the Green Energy Act," as I tried to think of a fairly conservative answer for her. And she says, "Oh yeah, it's an act all right. Yeah, just another act that the Liberals put on like they didn't screw up." And I laughed, and I thought it was funny, and then I was upset, one, because I didn't come up with it, and two, because she's right. Think about it. The energy sector, you have the Liberals jumping in with both feet first, to the point where we can't afford our energy anymore. We can't afford to leave the lights on. There was no due diligence. Does this sound familiar? Sounds a lot like our industry, doesn't it? Because this is what the Liberals do. This is what they've done for some time now. Just jump in and deal with the repercussions later. Unfortunately, the repercussions usually land on our shoulders. It's far too familiar, you know, and it's about time that the Liberals start owning up to what they've done. You know, be held accountable for some of the tough choices that they like to talk about. You know, I go to Queen's Park regularly now. I get a chance to sit in with the caucus, and you know, I go there, and I get to sit with the people that represent the PC party in either a form of an MPP or myself as a candidate in a prospective riding. I never did categorize them as my people, our people. That wasn't right, but it's just how I felt at the time. You know, I felt like an outsider. I never met anybody like them, and I'm fairly certain they've never met anybody like me. and you know, I hear my colleagues talk, and they talk about the problems they see in their communities, the problems they hear from their constituents, and it becomes abundantly clear that you and I as horse people, we're just like everybody else in Ontario. Every single person in Ontario. We have all been the core of this province, proudly working hard to support our families and driving the economy of the best province in Canada. I don't feel so much like an outsider anymore in room 351 at Queen's Park. These MPPs and candidates are just like you and me, representing people just like you and me. When you combine this with the encouragement and confidence I receive from my industry, and the people in this room, the people in my community, I feel a huge weight lifting. I feel strong. I feel almost bulletproof. Maybe not accident-proof or getting trampled by a horse-proof, but kind of bulletproof. You know, am I scared some days? Absolutely, you know. Does it feel overwhelming some days? Certainly. Am I afraid to speak up, have my voice heard, and represent not just the people of Guelph, but the people in this room and the people of my industry? Absolutely not. Many people in here know me very well. Know me well enough to know that I might clown around and I might joke. But if you take a shot at my friends and my family, you will get my undivided attention. Like many of you, I didn't pay much attention to politics before March 2012. But we all do now, and the Liberals have our undivided attention. Beside us, behind us, And all around us, the rest of Ontario is paying very close attention, and you can be sure the Liberals have their undivided attention also. They don't seem to care what Ontario wants. Their partisan politics muddy the waters of this great province every single day. How many times do you have to be told Ontario doesn't want your casinos?
Right on.
You know, this province has always been a destination province, and it has never had anything to do with gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, by being here tonight, you're not just helping me, but you're helping the whole province. We all have to continue to spread the word across the province. All is one. We need to say it loud and clear for the Liberals to hear. No. We've had enough of your policies. We've had enough of your governing. We've had enough of you. And hopefully, I pray that that day will be Election Day. Thank you very much. Yeah. I, like my next speaker, is a fellow Maritimer. She could also talk all night. Lisa McLeod was born in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, and moved to Ottawa after university. She was first elected to the legislature on March 30th, 2006, and was re-elected October 10th, 2007. And again, October 6, 2011, with the highest vote total of any candidate of any party representing Nepean Carleton. That's right. Lisa is the PC's education critic and the vice chair of the Standing Committee of the Legislative Assembly, most well known for taking Dalton McGuinty to task over his broken promises and implementing a new harmonized sales tax, the HST. Lisa has championed the toughest child protection legislation in Ontario's history, is a founding member of the South Nepean Autism Centre, has also garnered the support of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation and the National Citizens Coalition for her Truth in Government legislation. Lisa has also been a supporter of small businesses, establishing the Nepean Carleton Women in Business Breakfast Series and advocating for tougher legislation that would crack down on grow operations and drug labs, which received widespread support from the Ontario Real Estate Association. With Rideau Carleton falling in her riding, Lisa has been a champion for the plight of horse racing in Ontario and a strong voice for our industry in this Do you ever sleep? It's like 3 pages. And thank you very much. Please help me in join me in helping bring Lisa McLeod to the stage.
Good job, Dan.
Thanks very much. There you go.
Well, thanks to Anthony, but I also want to warn all of you, I am no Ava. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to come closer. We're all friends here, right? Come on up. I have some important stuff to talk to you about this evening. But first, I want to recognize one of my colleagues who is here tonight. I know many of you are horse people, and Anthony talked about my desire to support the horse racing industry because I am home to one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world, the Rideau Carleton Raceway. And one day I showed up at my racetrack and there were placemats all in the dining room and had a wonderful quote. It was so wonderful about supporting the horse racing industry. I thought, did I say that? Did I say I was supporting the horse racing industry and how important this was to the economy of Ontario? Was it me who defended all of these people? It wasn't, actually. My racetrack actually put a quote on every single placemat at the racetrack from Ted Arnott. And so Ted Arnott's here, ladies and gentlemen. He's one of my closest friends in the Ontario PC caucus. He spoke to my motion demanding that we get the Auditor General to review OLG's plans and what it means to our horse racing industry and our agricultural communities. And I can say that Ted Arnott, who has been a loyal foot soldier in the Ontario Progressive Conservative caucus for a very long time, has stood behind this region, has stood behind Mohawk, has stood behind horsemen all the way. And I want to say thanks to Ted for coming out tonight to support Anthony. So it's great to see you. Now, we also, of course, sometimes in politics, what's new was old and is now new again. So we're really lucky this time to have another big supporter of the horse racing industry decide to come back to our caucus once he's re-elected and continue to fight for your industry. And he's running in the Brant riding, who happens to be against the Speaker of the Legislature. But I think he'll, of course, only be the Speaker for another couple of months or something like that. But it's really wonderful to have with us tonight a former Minister of the Crown, and soon to be another Minister of the Crown, Phil Gillies. He's here with us this evening from Brant, and it's great to see him. Now, of course, Anthony mentioned that he and I were both born Maritimers. And he also mentioned that Ontario is the greatest place to live in this entire country. Anthony and I know a thing or two about what a have-not province is. We know a thing or two about unemployment. We know a thing or two about parents struggling at the dinner table to pay the bills. That's why Anthony McDonald and I, like so many millions of other people, made that trek west to Ontario. We came here for a better life. We came here to get our first jobs. We came here to grow our families. We came here to own our first home, our first car, of course, our first mortgage, pay our taxes. It's a better life. We're not alone. People come from all over Canada and the rest of the world to Ontario because it was the place you could get a job. It was the place where you could pay your bills. It was the place you could be proud to call home. It was a place that was a have province and a leader in this world. Now that was the province that Anthony and I came to. Anthony and I aren't very different. If there was actually a bridge between Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, we'd probably live about 45 kilometers from one another. Anthony and I both have a young family. His wife Amy is here, his daughter Ava. They're in for a long haul. It's not going to be easy because Anthony has a job, and he has a small child, and he needs to run for election. He's told you several times tonight that he never thought he would be involved in politics. He never thought he would have to stand on the stage tonight to run for office, but he has to. He has to because the industry that you all work in, the industry that I support and my colleagues support, is under direct attack by the McGuinty-Wynne Liberal government. And I know many of you have said, well, I've talked to Kathleen Wynne, she's not so bad. Jeff Leal's promising me the world. Jeff Leal and Kathleen Wynne stood up and voted for a budget that was a direct attack on your industry and a direct attack on the values of rural Ontario and a direct attack on jobs in this province. And Anthony McDonald decided to do something about it. He put his name on the ballot. And he's here tonight to raise money for that feat. Now, it's also interesting that I'm here. Many of you know I'm a big supporter of the Rideau Carleton Raceway. You can start applauding any time for the Rideau Carleton Raceway. That's 1,000 jobs in my riding. And I'm not going to be quiet about 1,000 jobs in my riding of horse people, marketing folks, breeders, and veterinarians, and the whole gamut of people who get to work at the Rideau Carleton Raceway because they're connected to the agricultural community, they're connected to many other communities, and they're very charitable as well. I'm here tonight to support Anthony. And of course, I happen to be also the education critic. Pretty interesting, isn't it, that the person that he's running against has just made it into cabinet as the education minister. This is the same government that when enrollment in our public education system dropped by 260,000 students, decided to ramp up spending in education by $8.5 billion. We need some changes, and the person who voted for all that, who was beside Kathleen Wynne when Kathleen Wynne was education minister, was Liz Sandals. I'm going to take great delight in not only supporting Anthony McDonald tonight with the horse racing community, I'm going to take delight in standing with Anthony McDonald tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that for Ontario parents who have had enough of the erosion of good grades in our schools, of the erosion of extracurricular activities of our schools, the erosion of what it means to go into a community school and ensure that your student, your child, is going to be safe, smarter, and prepared for the 21st century. I'm going to take delight in supporting him to make sure he reaches his goal. But ladies and gentlemen, it is not just up to the Ontario PC caucus to support Anthony. It is going to take everyone in this room. We need you to deliver a victory for Ontario. We cannot win a majority government without Anthony McDonald's seat. We need a majority government to do a number of things, to improve our agricultural community, to help the horse racing industry, to ensure our kids in education are getting the best grades they possibly can because of hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, not bad is not good enough in this province anymore. This is the place people came from all across the world to settle. And now the Liberals have chosen that they'll do anything just to settle and not reach for the top. That's not the government you deserve, and I know that's not the government that you want. We can do better. And we can do better by electing a progressive conservative government under Tim Hudak. We can do better by electing a progressive conservative in Guelph under Anthony McDonald. We can do better by electing a progressive conservative government that will return Ontario to its prosperity, that will return a focus onto jobs and our economy, that will return a focus onto our students and not the union bosses. I'm really proud to be here tonight. A lot of friends that I've come to know over the years. Many of you know, of course, with the Rideau Carleton Raceway, I've got a real interest. And my first time I actually started to learn about the Slots at Racetracks program was with Tim Hudak. He taught me everything I need to know. We went in and we did a review of the Ontario Racing Commission, and that's where I got to meet Jim Whalen. And my goodness, if you learned how to talk to a Prince Edward Islander when you were young, you never met a guy like Jim Whalen. Oh my heavens. And it's good to see him here tonight. But him and Brian Tropey were the first to sit down and talk to Tim and I about some of the challenges we're dealing with the ORC. And over that period of time, I've gotten to know a lot of horse people. I've gotten to love this industry. For somebody who's never wagered on a horse or placed a slot bet, I sure have become one of your biggest advocates because you're good people. And I'm really proud to be here tonight with all of you because you have an industry that is worth fighting for. And recently, of course, I got to go to meet with some friends at Kawartha Downs, so I know some of them are here. And I had a wonderful, wonderful meeting. And we talked about some of the big challenges. And of course, I've been to other racetracks. I've been to Woodbine. I've been to Western Fair. But the only track ever to give me anything was the folks at Kawartha Downs. I went to meet with them. We had a great long meeting, very lively discussion, and they sent me home with a barn cat. And it was wonderful for my daughter. My husband, I'm not sure what he's thinking right now, because I'm here tonight, he's caring for the kitten. And I'm not sure how I'm going to explain it to the Integrity Commissioner either, but I'll make sure that calls me. But you're all generous people, and you're spread throughout the province. You contribute to 60,000 jobs in our province and in our country. You have tens of thousands of horses, 13,000 of which may have a precarious future. You're good people. None of you expected to be involved in politics. Just like Anthony, you thought that the next election was going to be one you might vote in or you might not. Might be about the local candidate or the local issue. Now your biggest hope is in front of us tonight in sending Anthony to Queen's Park. So I ask you again, tonight before you leave, if you can give him a little bit more money, I ask that you do it. If any of you live in Guelph or have family in Guelph, I'm going to ask you to go home tonight and call them and tell them about Anthony. And finally, when that writ is dropped, and it will be dropped at some point in time, I'm going to need you to come back, because we need to change this province back to prosperity. You know, Phil Gillies sat in Bill Davis's government. My friend Ten Arnott sat in Mike Harris's government. Those were prosperous times. Those were times where people felt that this province was not only leading this country, but leading the world. And we, all of us in this room tonight, can be part of Ontario leading again if we ensure that Anthony McDonald becomes a progressive Conservative MPP and Tim Hudak becomes Premier of Ontario. I have a question for you, and please answer it. Are you ready to help us?
Yes.
Oh, come on. I grew up in the Maritimes. Jim Whalen is